Any idea what this is? Most important piece of bridge gear?
You.
Me? I don't like that. Let's live with that. No. Coffee. This is a question I never get asked. If you're here, who runs the ship? Right? I always say Alexa, but it's not entirely true. There's a lot more to being a captain than just the navigation side of things. There's still a hotel department that reports to me, a deck department, and an engineering department. But who does actually work on the bridge, right? No, so we have 4 senior officers, 5 junior officers. We have quartermasters, a captain, and a staff captain. Now, the junior and the senior officers, they are the navigator and the co-navigator. It doesn't mean that the senior officer is always the navigator. Sometimes the junior officer is the navigator because we need to teach, we need to learn. So they switch positions. The quartermasters are there for hand steering and for lookout. And then normal operations, what we have, like today, green manning, it's a nice and slow run, it's deep water, it's clear. We just operate in what we call in green manning. And green manning has a junior and a senior officer and 2 quartermasters. So navigator, co-navigator, a possible helmsman, or otherwise 2 lookouts. When it gets a little bit more interesting, we want to augment the team a little bit. We want to make sure that we do not forget anything, right? We want to make sure that everything runs smoothly, because when we are going to yellow manning, we would be in reduced visibility, or we would have dense traffic. We may be picking up a pilot. There is a whole variety of things that we want to make sure that we do not forget anything for safety's sake. And then the captain or the staff captain comes there, and he sits back. He comes in a position as operations director. And our task, or my task, would then just be sit back, make sure that nothing gets forgotten, and make sure the workload is equally shared. Right? Now, if it gets even more interesting, for instance, there's reduced visibility and there is dense traffic, or we do arrive at a port, depart from a port, we're approaching an anchorage or departing from an anchorage, then we augment the team once more, and we go what we call red manning. So then there's a captain, there's a staff captain, there are 2 navigators, and 2 quartermasters. So arrivals and departures, 6 men on the bridge. Normal operations, 4 men. This is a console on the port side, completely dedicated to communication. We have narrowband printing, we have satellite, phone, telex over radio, emergency position indicating radio beacons, search and rescue transponders, airband, VHF, MF, HF, shortwave. I could go on and on and on like that. We have a whole slew of equipment. But the only thing we need to remember is that we just have to press one of those red buttons. There are a few of them on that console. Press it for 3 seconds, and half of the world knows that the Zuiderdam is in distress and that we require assistance. Similarly so, if another ship sends out a distress message, we will render assistance. It is required by maritime law. This is that docking or conning console on the wing, and this happens to be the starboard wing. It's a smaller version of that center console. I still have a radar set, I still have an electronic chart, I have my azimuth levers, I have a rudder, I have telegraphs, I have bow thrusters, and there's some sensor data up in the overhead. Docking, we do on the wing, because then we can see alongside the ship, and we can nicely, then we see that we can come nicely alongside in a controlled manner. Docking and undocking a ship, we always do manual. It's not automated. It's for 2 very good reasons, actually 3. It's a lot of fun to do. That's the first one. But secondly is, our sensors are just numbers. There's always a calculation process. A GPS is a GPS. It takes some time before you actually get your position, so you're sort of looking in the past. It's just a number. Your speed, it's your speed, it just measured, right? Water depth is what it just measured. Wind speed is what it just measured. So you're sort of always looking in the past. But if you look outside, and that's why we have those great big windows down there, I call that instant gratification. You see what's going on. The other reason is that we don't do it automated is because computers cannot anticipate. Well, not for docking a ship, let's put it that way, right? Let's say we're docking a ship, and we have a nice and steady beam wind of about 20 knots. The ship is a big sail, so we just drift sideways. We can counteract that. I can see it on my anemometer, my wind indicator, 20 knots on the beam. The wind indicator is not going to tell me that there's a 50 knot gust coming. 50 knot gust can ruin my day. But if I look outside, I can see that 50 knot gust approach. I see a change in the water. I see a ripple coming. I see white caps all of a sudden appearing. And I see him approaching my ship. I see that approach, I can take countermeasures and still have a safe landing.
I was curious to know how much fuel is on the ship, and can you go, for example, from New York all the way to Europe? And how long does that take?
Man, the one thing I forget is to have a look at fuel. I give you some indications.
So, Chief Engineer, quick.
yeah, no. On this voyage, we have overcapacity because we always need to carry enough fuel that we can go to a different port if we have a medical emergency or if there's a hurricane or whatnot. So, on this voyage, I think we'll burn almost 800 tons of 800 metric tons of fuel. So somewhere around 850 cubic meters, so that should be somewhere around 270,000 gallons of fuel.
Wow.
Full speed, 87 gallon a mile. Any idea of the fuel cost for this voyage? I would estimate somewhere around $450,000.
We have two types of fuel as well we have to carry.
Yeah, we have what we call HFO and MGO, so there's heavy fuel oil or marine gas oil. We burn marine gas oil in certain parts of the world because it has a little bit cleaner emission. Now, not that we want to pollute the world, but HFO is heavy fuel oil is a little cheaper. But what we then do, if we run on heavy fuel oil, we actually scrub our emissions. So if you sometimes look at the funnel, it looks like we're spewing out grey smoke, right? That's not smoke, that's actually water vapor. Because we're cleaning our exhaust gas, and then we create water vapor, and that's that white plume you see.
Do we have someone over here?
Yes, on a day like today with good visibility, what is the distance from the top of the boat to the horizon?
Depends a little bit, but today would be somewhere at 17 to 18 nautical miles, I would say.
Captain, thanks for the opportunity to listen to you. Interesting. Can you give us an indication of the total power generation capacity in megawatt or MVA or what?
That's on the same piece of paper. Our total capacity is 88,000 horsepower. I forgot what it is in megawatts. But our propellers can produce 44,000 horsepower. It's about 35 megawatts.
Question is, in your 25 years experience on Holland America, I'd love to hear, or we would love to hear, maybe one of your descriptions of one of your more challenging incidents.
So let me put it this way, I've never run aground. My ship hasn't caught a fire yet. Never had to abandon ship. Never been attacked by a pirate. Those are all career enders. Either way, you always have challenging conditions, always. And it has something to do with, either weather or, yes, we have small fires on board, that happens, because after all, I'm sailing here with 2,000 potential fire starters.
Just curious, how much ship is there below the waterline?
It's about 25 feet. Anywhere between 25 and 27 feet. So it doesn't look much, right? 25 feet versus 163, the top of the funnel. A lot of people think that we're very easy, that we will capsize very easy, but you can't forget that most of our space is empty space. There's not a lot of weight in our in the top of the ship, but all our provisions, all our ballast, all our fuel, all our heavy equipment and engines are all down below, and that's why the ship is so stable.
How far in advance does the company book berthing slots, and who then decides who berths and who tenders?
You wouldn't be referring to our friends at Royal Caribbean this week.
So, generally speaking, berth assignments are not berth assignments, but port bookings are done at least 2 years in advance. Now, who gets the berth and who doesn't is up to the harbor master. Generally speaking, the biggest ship gets the berth.
What are we here?
My niece lives in Boston yesterday. Thank you for letting us visit. She told me it takes about an hour to drive to Rhode Island. What's the fastest we could sail if we weren't trying to follow a schedule?
We can make about 22 knots or so. But then again, I have to transit through whale waters, which I can't. More than, then I have to go back to 10 knots. We also need a sea day. We cannot do just 4 days, 4 days, 4 days, 4 days. Otherwise, you won't have this fun event.
I will take just one more question over here.
It's a two-parter. How often is the ship placed in dry dock, and what's the commercial lifetime of a boat like this?
So the ship goes into dry dock every 2.5 to 3 years. And the lifetime really depends on, as long as you enjoy our ship, we can continue to operate it. The ship is incredibly strong. I've been on ships that are 50 years old and they look incredible. As long as you maintain them well and take care of a ship, so you can last a very long time. But we constantly improve our product. We listen to you. We read all the comments that we receive from you at the end of the voyage via your surveys. And as long as you enjoy it, then we continue to operate it. If there's something we need to change, we change it. But if at one stage you say, well, the Zuiderdam, it's a rust bucket, we don't like it anymore, then we just sell it.
This is actually going into dry dock, isn't it?
Yeah, but in December we're going to try it out.
Yeah. We've got a